welcome along to the University of the Highlands and Islands. For those that have never met me before, my name is Gary I. Campbell. I do employer engagement for the university. My title is Key Account Director. The plan today is to welcome our guest, Gelong Thubten, who is a Buddhist monk and has kindly arranged to come along. I thought he was really just involved in Loch Ness, but I discovered this man is actually travelling the world telling people about mindfulness, and we're so grateful that he's taken the time to come along and speak to us today and have this chat and find a little bit more about it. What exactly is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is meditation, and meditation is a practice of training the mind. So it's done usually silently. One sits still and silently focuses the mind within, and you often use techniques such as focusing on your own breathing, or focusing on sound or physical sensations. There's many techniques, but they're all based around focusing on the present moment, and that helps the mind to become more calm, more relaxed and more focused.
Okay, yeah. So does that mean, it's come originally from Buddhism,
yes,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's the history of it? How does it come from your own religious practice, and how did it come into a much wider community that seems to be involved in it today?
Yes, so meditation is a Buddhist technique, but it can be really practiced by anybody. You don't have to practice it as a religion. You know, it's a method of training the mind. It's a kind of it's very scientific, actually. It's sometimes called the science of mind. And so I was actually teaching meditation in companies many years before they started calling it mindfulness. And now in the last 10 years or so, it's getting called mindfulness. The word mindfulness is actually a Buddhist term, and we've been using that all along. But now there are many courses which are called mindfulness courses, because I think that word makes people realize it doesn't have to be linked to a religion. So it's called a secular practice, non-religious meditation, etc.
Okay, so it's come from Buddhism, and it's something that we can, I think you've nicely explained it. It's about bringing people to the now, and so that they can really concentrate on something or get into an area that they feel comfortable with. So how does it help them? What benefits do people get from this?
I think the two major benefits, one of them is stress reduction. Stress is an increasing problem, and increasingly nowadays people are more willing to talk about their stress and admit that stress is getting to them. And so with any kind of meditation technique, you're learning to be more relaxed, and it definitely reduces the stress levels. But it also increases mental clarity. So this will make us actually more efficient in our work, because we can be less distracted, more focused, and get less tired.
Okay.
So it has many layers of benefit. I think a deeper benefit is it helps us to deal with our emotions. You know, we all have emotional reactions that we're not really in control of, and our sort of negative mind states really take a hold on us, and so in that sense our mind isn't really free. And so mindfulness practice helps us to develop a kind of freedom, so that we're not so bogged down with negative thinking, negative emotions. So it really frees up the places where we are emotionally stuck or imbalanced.
So I mean, in many ways, is this a good thing for people who maybe moan a bit? You know,
we all love to moan.
You know, if one of your colleagues is moaning, should we send them in a mindfulness course?
Well, everybody moans, but some people do it verbally and some people keep it in. We moan internally as well.
Yes,
So we're all struggling. We all struggle with stress. We all struggle with tension, with pressure. And so I think mindfulness can actually benefit everybody. I mean, now it's been taught in schools, it's been taught in hospitals, in businesses, even in prisons. It's really across the board that everybody can benefit from a method that will help them to train their awareness and develop a more positive mind state.
And you yourself work with Google. Google, one of the largest businesses on the planet, and a business that has grown very, very quickly in a very short space of time. So something like that, which is based in California, you would think they would, they're right at the cutting edge of everything in the internet, Silicon Valley. Why do they need it, and what do they gain from it?
Well, I actually work with Google's European headquarters, which is in Dublin. I haven't been to the California office. Google are very open to meditation. In fact, in their office building, they have a meditation room where people can go. And I think every day after lunch, they have a guided meditation session with their in-house trainers. So they're already very, very open to that. And last year I spoke at a conference at Google, and as a result of that, they asked me to come every month and do more intensive training for them, one-day workshops and also one-to-one sessions. And I'm finding that a company such as Google that's very open to it, and then there are other companies who you never would have thought would be open to it, there is an openness. It's really across the board now. So much evidence about the proof of the efficiency of mindfulness is now available, and that's made everybody more interested in it.
So, I mean, just on that, is there scientific support for this? You mentioned there's a science to it.
Yes.
So, in the traditional sense, I mean, we're a university. There's a lot of scientists here. We do a lot of research. Is there evidence that a university professor or a university research fellow would actually understand as being evidence to back it up?
Absolutely. For us as Buddhists, the only evidence we require is the fact it's been going for nearly 3,000 years.
It's a pretty good sales pitch, I have to say. Yes.
That makes us feel, well, this stuff must work. It's been around long enough, and so many people have benefited from it. But in modern times, there have been a lot of medical, scientific experiments, research done where they actually take people who are quite good at meditation, mindfulness, and they measure their brain activity using different kinds of machinery. And they've proved that the brain activity is more healthy, and the areas of the brain that are related to happiness, to empathy, compassion are more expanded, more developed. So there is very hardcore scientific evidence now that it works, and that's obviously made it more popular.
Okay. And I suppose in many respects that everything that I suppose involves meditation or anything that is attached to a religion will always have people who are the naysayers that think it maybe doesn't work, but that must help with them as well.
I think so. And also the fact that it's now called mindfulness and has such a strong ethic of not preaching any religion, being very sort of independent of religion, yet rooted in Buddhist philosophy. So that's an interesting combination.
Yes.
Rooted in Buddhist philosophy, yet able to be practiced outside of that. I think that helps everybody feel comfortable that, you know, I'm a Buddhist monk and I wear these robes all the time, and when I go into corporate situations, it's very clear that I'm not there to convert them to Buddhism. I'm not there with a religious motive. I'm there to help them deal with their minds. And people are very comfortable around that nowadays. It's becoming very accepted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And moving on to the actual practice of mindfulness, is it something you just do once, or do you have to do it a number of times? Or
It would be great if you could just do it once and then the job's done. That would be fantastic. So yes, unfortunately, it has to be done more than once.
Yeah.
It's a daily method. It's an exercise. You know, when we want to do any kind of exercise, it involves repetition. So physical exercise involves diligence, repetition, discipline, a daily program. And mindfulness is the same, but it doesn't require a huge chunk of time out of your day. Most of my clients practice 15 or 20 minutes a day in the morning. But then I also instruct them in methods for bringing that awareness into their daily life. So while they're busy, while they're at work, while they're behind their computer, while they're in a meeting, while they're talking to a difficult colleague, how to bring awareness in those moments. And it means you are full-time involved in that process, but in terms of chunks of time, you've just got your 15 or 20 minutes a day to start with anyway. Okay.
And then you mention it there, you know, that doing it on an ongoing basis, but is it preferable to have a special time and place that you actually practice it?
I think it's good to have a quiet place, and I always encourage people to practice it first thing in the morning, because, you know, we often start our day in a pretty hectic manner. Our day starts with stress. We sort of jump out of bed and run to work, maybe have some coffee on the way. That's not a great way to start the day, is it? It's like starting your day as if you've been like a bullet shot out of a gun. So if you start your day in the morning by sitting up and doing 20 minutes of mindfulness, your day starts well. And that sort of, the launch pad for your day is a peaceful place. So yes, you need a space in the morning where you can do it, but some people find it's impossible, they're too busy, so then they do it in the evening. But you do ideally need a quiet place, quietish. It'll never be totally silent, but quietish. Okay. Yeah, can be at home or or in the office. Yes. And many companies I'm working with are actually designating a meditation area, a room, where people can go in their break. I worked in a hospital once where they had a kind of drop-in room for people who were needing some time to do mindfulness and sit in there. So it can be done anywhere as long as it's quiet.
It's quiet, okay. Yeah. And just, I'm sure everybody's interested in this as well as myself. I mean, a little bit about yourself. You know, I think, right in saying you started off life as an actor, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually I became a monk very young. I was 21. So before that I did a bit of acting, and that was the kind of career path I was thinking of going down. But actually I decided to learn meditation, and I went to a monastery, Samyeling in Scotland, initially to be there for a year. But I loved it so much, and I realized it's so meaningful that I decided to stay longer. And that was 22 or 23 years ago. I'm still there, and I eventually took the commitment to be a lifelong monk. And so I'm a monk connected to the monastery, but I'm actually spending most of my time traveling, giving courses. I'm helping with a few different projects. Our monastery has branches. We have a branch in Scarborough that I'm involved in, and also the branch up here, and various places, and also teaching in the corporate world and also other places. So very busy. I'm a very busy monk.
Yes, because I think people probably envision monks being recluses in many respects. You know, just
I have had that time. I did retreats. You know, we have varying lengths of retreats, and I've done. I was in the 4-year retreat, which is the long retreat, and I've also done shorter retreats. So those are times when you really are doing the things that traditionally you expect monks to do, which is to sit in a kind of meditation room and meditate all day. So you have these training periods which are very, very useful. And then you have times when you're working hard and traveling a lot and teaching, but the ethos is always about helping people. I'm not earning a salary for myself. It's really charitable work and benefiting others. So it's an unusual thing to see a monk teaching in those situations, but it is quite interesting. I find it interesting.
I think your earlier analogy saying that, you know, it's rooted in religion, but it's effectively it can be a secular practice.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you, as obviously a religious person, can bridge that divide is tremendous. And just a quick question about the retreats. Do you find that there comes a point when you need to have another retreat, a bit of a break? Is that how it works?
I think anyone who's into meditation does need regular periods of retreat. The length varies, so if you really want to be very intensive, you go away for a few months or even years. But also you can do weekend retreats or a 1-week retreat. These days I lead little retreats, and that's nice for me because I get time to meditate with my friends on the retreat. So one does need these periods of time, and that's very important, yes.
Okay. What are you bringing to the Highlands?
Well, we already have a well-established group up here, which is called Samyezong Highlands, which is a Buddhist group, a branch of our monastery, but also they teach mindfulness. It's Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist teachings, but also the mindfulness side. So it's a very good combination of that. And we are wanting to establish a centre up here, a centre for mindfulness, meditation, peace and health. And the idea is that it would be a training place for mindfulness and meditation, and also a retreat place, a place where people can come on a residential basis, particularly I think when they're maybe very stressed and want to get away from it all in a beautiful situation, which is why we're so attached to this area, particularly Loch Ness and the beautiful environment there. So a place where you can kind of regenerate and get away from it all for some short period of time to rebalance on a emotional, mental level and on a physical level through health as well.
Is there a specific reason why you pick a certain location?
I think if you're making a place that is for meditation, you want something that's very conducive to that. So this area is so beautiful and so conducive to that search for inner peace. And of course we do have centres in big cities. We have 2 centres in London, for example. We have a centre in Edinburgh, Glasgow. But our project up here has more of a retreat aspect to it as well, where people can come on residential courses. So then you do want something a bit off the beaten track maybe, and in a natural situation. It enhances the practice very much.
Buddhism, as a religion, or who do you attract? Are there specific people you look for, or is it open to anyone?
We don't look for anybody because we have no wish to even convert people to Buddhism. We're not trying to gather followers or anything like that. We're just available. And the people who are drawn to us, there is no set style of, you can't say it's this type of person or that type of person. It's across the board because everybody is aware of the need to develop more inner peace, develop more positive thinking. And so you get people across the board from all walks of life coming to the monastery or coming to our centres or coming to our courses. It's very all-inclusive.
I think that is a great point to finish this part.
Thank you.
I mean, to say that it's all-inclusive and are available to everyone in both a religious and a secular sense, which I applaud you. I think that's fantastic. And at this moment in time, I'd just like to thank you very much for that.
Thank you.